Hello and welcome everyone out there. My name is Kelly Humrichhauser. I'm the Associate Manager of Education here at the National Main Street Center. And today for our final program in the Conference Rewind webinar series, we're joined by Megan Chewy of Redwing Main Street in Minnesota. Megan is a really knowledgeable Main Street manager and does additional work on the side, and she's going to tell you all about that and give you a little bit more context for her work as we start the program here. I want to thank everybody for participation over the course of the past couple of months in our Conference Rewind series. We're happy to be able to bring some speakers who volunteered to lend their time to you to extend the Main Street Now conference in Seattle if you were there, or if you weren't able to make it to Seattle, to kind of show you a little bit of what the content was. We're looking forward to Main Street Now 2020, hosted by the Texas Main Street program in Dallas, Texas. If you are interested, if you feel like you also have a story, a program, an idea to share, I just want everybody to keep a lookout for the call for proposals for education sessions. That's coming out in late June of this year. And if you've been attending these programs and something resonated with you and you're like, yeah, I can do that too, we're always interested in getting new voices to help, further the Main Street story and share good ideas. So we'll make sure to follow up with you about that possibility. So look out for that. And as we get started here, I just want to point out a couple of functionality pieces with the GoToWebinar platform. If this is one of your first webinars, I just want to make sure that you're familiar with the fact that you can use either computer or phone audio. So you can change that option under the audio panel on your screen. You can also chat to us any questions that you have during the program. So feel free to go ahead and type into the question box questions that you might have. Megan's really interested in hearing some of those questions, and she'll leave some time at the end to help answer them. I'll read them out loud so that everybody can hear what you're asking. And we're happy to also chat back about any technical issues. So feel free to send in something that you're not understanding about the platform. In addition, you'll see that there is a handouts or materials section on your screen if you're joining the live broadcast of this program. There you can download the PDF version of this program so you can kind of follow along and take any notes that you'd like. If you are joining this as a recording at a later time, there is not necessarily a link there. I want to make sure that you're directed to the Main Street Now conference page, where in addition to Megan's presentation, you'll find the PDFs of many other presentations. That's at eventmobi.com/MainStreetNow19. You can go there, you can search for Megan Chewy and find this presentation. You'll also be able to find other sessions and presentations so that you can take a look at what was presented. And that is the best place to access this presentation going forward. So if you are here now, though, right in the handout section is the PDF. Okay, that's all I have to cover as we start the program. And now I'd like to turn it over to Megan. Welcome, Megan.
Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today, and I am so glad that National Main Street Center decided to do these webinars, and because I know a lot of people couldn't get into my session, and so this was such a nice way for me to do it again and be able to answer your questions and hope that other downtowns can use social media in really new and fun ways. So thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. So I am the Main Street Director in Redwing, Minnesota, and I have been there for about 2.5 years. And it's been a program that's had some fits and starts, but we've been around since 2012. We were officially a Main Street community when Minnesota adopted the Main Street program, but the organization's been around since about 1996 when it was formed. So I stand on the shoulders of some really, really great people that went before me. I also host the Meet Me Downtown podcast. Very not any kind of schedule do I put out new podcasts. It's when I have time and can get some great interviews done. But you'll find some things there that are fun about, and I interview people from all over the U.S. about their programs and really interesting things that they're doing. So check that out. And then in my spare time, I have a company called Unleash Consultants, and I do social media and digital marketing for nonprofits in my community. So I also sit on the National Institute of Social Media's board. I was the chair this year. So I love social media, and I think it sometimes gets a bad rap, but I'm here to tell you that you can use it for good and do some really great work in your downtown using it. So let's get started. So the goal today is really to learn how to use social media to get more attendees to your events, sell more memberships, and raise awareness for your downtown issues. And I'll use examples from social media to show you how storytelling can up your social media game. Oops. Quick note about Facebook versus Instagram. Almost all of my examples are Facebook and not Instagram because my town loves Facebook. And we have been very well trained to use Facebook by a bakery owner actually in town. Bill Hanish, a Hanish Bakery, has a following of about, I think he's about 20,000 followers on Facebook. And he's won all sorts of awards for best donuts, best bakery in Minnesota, all these things because of he's taught people how to vote for him on social media using Facebook. So in my town, Facebook matters, but in your town, it might be Instagram. I also do some social media work for the local school district, and it was really interesting when we were doing a campaign about high school. Facebook worked really, really well. But when we did it about the elementary schools, we didn't have the same kind of results. And we figured out it's because those younger parents are on Instagram. So you might want to think about, who and where to find your audience. And we'll get into that just a little bit more in a minute. But most of my examples are going to be Facebook, and that's why. All right. So storytelling is really the art of connection. It's about connecting. This is something that goes back to caveman days where we would sit around the fire and tell stories. And one of the great things about social media is it's supposed to be social. It's not supposed to be sales. It's not supposed to be events. It's supposed to be social. And so it really lends itself to storytelling really well. And this allows you to tell more about your downtown than ever before and really get out what makes your downtown really special. So here are some storytelling basics. First of all, you want to activate high arousal emotions. You want to make something useful, and you want to remove yourself as the hero. You are only the guide. And this is something that is a really interesting thing, and I got this idea from the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And if you have a chance to check that out, that's something that is really, really game-changing for me anyway, about how I think about it's geared towards business, but it would work for the nonprofit world as well. So I'll have an example of that in a minute. But let's dig into these basics. So elements of storytelling. Activate high arousal emotions. So these are the emotions that connect people together. So awe, anger, surprise, shock, joy, fear, competition, pride, nostalgia. But mostly, and my favorite one to use in social media, is love. And so when I sit down to write a post, or if I sit down to think about a campaign that we're going to put together, and a campaign for anybody who's kind of new to the social media world is a series of posts that go towards one main objective. What I really try to do is channel love, because when I walk down my downtown, I try to kind of think about how much love and energy there is, hopefully, in our downtowns, and the pride. And so I try to channel that when I think about writing posts for our downtown. It also helps when you are thinking about photographs too, or videos, about what do we love most? What are the images that are going to connect people to that really positive emotion? But the other ones work too. So, and I'll have a couple examples of those as we go through. Okay. So this one, don't just talk about yourself, you are the guide, not the hero, is this is an example of two different posts. One is from the local chamber, and the other one is from our downtown Main Street. And please don't tell my local chamber that we use them as a what not to do. But this is a good example of every post that they do has somebody from the chamber in it. And you can always tell because they wear the red jackets. And look at the difference between the results from somebody who is in every picture with people versus our photo, which is just the people who own the store. So in the first picture with the chamber, it has results of 15 people reacted to that post, where in our post, this reached almost 10,000 people, and it had a reaction of 240 people. So that's the biggest difference, I think, that if I can get you to think about, you're the guide in your downtown, and you're not the one that's making all of the great things happen, although you do, I'm sure, but it's really about talking about other people and telling their stories. And so, these are both examples of birthdays. Culver's was 10 years old, and Usta was 40 years old. So that's a really good example of how to be the guide and not the hero in social media. Okay, I think I skipped one. Oh, I must get to that later. Okay. Hashtags. So one of the things I want to talk about quickly is the use of hashtags, and this comes up usually in as a question in my sessions. So hashtags are the internet's filing cabinet. That's the way I like to think of it. And you want to find a hashtag for your downtown or several hashtags that work for your downtown. And you want to check those out and make sure that they aren't used by somebody else that you wouldn't want to be associated with, because sometimes things get a little dicey out there in the hashtag world. So you just want to make sure if you're downtown, fill in the blank, that maybe you're using either that whole name of hashtag downtown, Albertville, whatever you happen to be, or you are careful when you find a different hashtag to use. Just be careful. Look at them. Make sure they're okay. And then I get a question a lot about how many hashtags to use. Normally you don't use hashtags on Facebook. Some people do, and it's fine, but it's a little distracting. It doesn't feel quite like the right place for those hashtags to be. But they are great on Instagram and on Twitter. And on Instagram, I think the latest information I've seen is that 7 to 11 hashtags are about what you want to shoot for. But just at least make sure to get one. Make sure to get your hashtag for your town on every post. And what that does is that allows somebody who is going to, maybe come to your town to find out what other people are doing that's cool. Other great places for photo ops, etc. We've actually had a reporter from a national periodical use hashtags to figure out what they should do before they get here. And they had a whole list of things that they wanted to do based on posts of other people. And that's the other thing, is you want to encourage other people to use your hashtag as well, because that really broadens the story of your downtown. So don't be afraid to use hashtags, especially in Instagram. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Okay, so here's a sample of hashtags that I've used in the Meet Me Downtown podcast. I always use Meet Me Downtown podcast, of course, Meet Me Downtown podcast, community manager. So I'm actually doing hashtags for people that I want to find my podcast as well. And this is what you can do in your downtown too, to just kind of get a list. What I do is I save this list in my phone, in my notes section, so I don't have to retype these every time. And then I just go into if I'm writing my Instagram post, I go in, copy that list, and then post it over into Instagram, so I don't have to redo that every time, because I don't want to have to remember all those every time. And then I'll spell one wrong, and it'll be terrible. So that is a quick tip for keeping track of your hashtags. So one of the benefits to our members in Redwing, and we call them partners, is that we have a really big social media following, and we try to use that social media following for their benefit, of course. But we also think that that's something that they should pay for as a paid partner. So one of the things that we try to do is to measure the success of our posts so that they can see what they're getting. You know, our memberships start at, well, I always call them memberships, but they're partnerships, really start at $150 a year. So they're not that expensive. They're not that high buck, but one good Facebook post is probably worth that. In fact, in my business, I charge, $100 a Facebook post that we turn into an ad. So I think it's a really good way to bring value to your paid partners, investors, members, whatever you call them. So let me give you a couple examples. So this is the make something useful part of storytelling, and this is something I do not as frequently as I used to. Things get tired on social media too, and so this is something that you can get started really quickly and do for a few months and see how it works for you and see what kind of results you get. This is a Main Street Minute, and so what I did is I asked all of our paid members, paid partners, to email me any specials or anything that they wanted to make sure could get out into the public. So any sales they had, any specials, any promotions, any guests in their store, even just like Discovery Financial Centers here in the middle. So, doesn't have anything special. They're a financial, center. They're not going to have a deal on stocks, which is really too bad, but they're not going to have that. So they just had a nice sentence about the people that you trust, et cetera, et cetera. So that is something that you can do really easily. And of course, we tag everybody. So the light blue, is them being tagged in this post. So not only does it show up on our Facebook page, but it also shows up in their newsfeed. And so the post goes a lot farther. So I'd highly recommend this is a really easy way to up your value as a member. Then we can also say, want to learn down here, we say want to learn more about how to support your downtown, go here. And so they can learn, other businesses can learn about how they could be a part of this. Because, of course, now there's the fear of missing out. And so they can go on here and become a member, should they so desire. Okay. So Facebook launched this, yeah.
A question came in, and I just was hoping we could tackle it now, because if we're moving away from that section. Someone had asked regarding the hashtags, does tagging in Facebook serve the same purpose as a hashtag in Instagram?
No, they're different. So you tag in Instagram just like you tag in Facebook. So you use the @ symbol and then you tag, and then what happens is whoever you tag gets a notice that they've been tagged. A hashtag is more passive. Hashtag, no one's going to get any kind of notice that you've done a hashtag, or that if someone hashtags Meet Me Downtown podcast, I wouldn't know. I'd have to go into click on Meet Me Downtown podcast to see all of the different things that have been tagged, that have been hashtagged that. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I will follow up with the questioner if there's any more questions on that.
Yeah, let me know.
Yep. Another question, what is a bit.ly and where do you find?
A bit.ly is a shortened link, and what it does is it allows you to put in, so let's say that you have a website, www.downtownredwing.com /ABC/ whatever. It's too long, right? So when you post it into things, it just takes up so much space and is ugly. What bit.ly bit.ly allows you to do is to shorten that link. And bit.ly also allows you to shorten it to a custom address. So it can be a www.bit.ly.com /downtownredwing. Could be a bit.ly link if that's available. So what it does is it allows you to kind of pretty up your links. But that's one benefit. The second benefit is that bit.ly counts how many people have clicked on that link. So it's a really nice way of putting in another way to measure. We don't get into insights on this presentation. That would probably be a good one for me to put together. But it's another way to measure how effective or how people are reacting to something that you post about. Now, Facebook doesn't really love shortened links. They've kind of been making it harder for people to use them. They just don't show if you do a post and there aren't as many, or they just don't show it to as many people unless you pay. So I hesitate to use bit.ly links right now, but you can certainly try it and always test out whether or not it works or not. So farther on in my presentation, I talk about testing a little bit more. So I would very much recommend that you test that, as Facebook changes all the time. So let me know if they have any follow-up questions to that. Anything else, Kelly?
That's all our questions at the moment, but one of our audience attendees also noted that bit.ly allows you to click on the link to get metrics to see who's been using it, which is a fun and helpful tip.
Right. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so once we get into the how we can help our partners with our social media, and what happens is this helps grow our downtown Facebook page as well, because the more you partner with people, the more Facebook encourages and shows your posts to people. So here is something that Facebook launched a year or so ago, which is that you can co-host events. So we co-host events with our downtown partners. So if they're having a sale and or they're having a special guest in their store, they're having an author come and read, a band come and play in a bar, whatever it is, whoever is a paid partner of ours can ask us to co-host. And then we just accept. It shows up on your feed, and then you just accept that. And what that does is it helps that event get more reach, and it also helps it get to your audience and not just, in this case, the Sheldon Theater's audience. So it's a really great way to, again, add value to your partnerships. Okay, so one of the things we did, we were part of the Small Business Revolution contest in 2017, and one of the things that we learned about that, we came in second, which was heartbreaking, but we learned a lot about how to market our town, because we had to ask people to vote for us. And one of the things that Small Business Revolution would have done is to highlight businesses and we thought that's the thing that I was most sad about, that wouldn't happen because we didn't win. And so I looked around and I said, hey, is there someone in our town who knows how to do video and editing? And there was. And so we did a series of short videos about, more in depth about different partners in our community. And this was at the liquor store. And the PDF that Kelly put on the GoToMeeting bar here has all the links in it, so you can go and watch them. If I try to play this, it'll screw us all up. So, but it's a nice way to showcase your partners in a way that really appeals to people right now with video. So that's a great way. Now, it might cost a little bit because sometimes video production does cost money, unless you can find someone or a kid who can do it. Sometimes with their smartphones, they can do more than we can do. So that's a nice way, and I hope you go back in and watch those videos. So the other thing we do is we try to watch our Facebook feed and promote for the partners. So this is from a brewery, the Redwing Brewery, and we just got so much snow and just had this terrible winter. And by January 30th, they were sick of it and doing a little bit of we're going a little cabin fever crazy. So this was a funny post, and I thought, we need to share this too, because it drives more traffic to those investor businesses, and it just really helps. And I'm sure you're already doing this, but we only share then things from our partners, so it still stays a clear value for them. So another thing that is really important to us in downtowns, of course, is to get more people to events. And Facebook has upped their event game. Since I was in Seattle even, I think that they've changed to really making events even more important in the news feed, and they have a section that pops up in your news feed once in a while that says events around you. And so it's a way to get people who don't even like your page or haven't maybe really interacted with your page to see your events. And so it's something that I'd encourage you to set up events for sure. And then make comments inside there, give people updates, all those kinds of things that you're probably already doing. But one of the things that is really important that we don't always think to do is during the event to promote the event. And this was one very funny video of a mascot race. The mascots were racing on 2x4s that were strapped to their feet. They were racing against the Redwing royalty, so the ladies who are the ambassadors for Redwing. They are racing against the mascots, and it's the first guy there is Billy the Bun Man. He's the one with the huge social media following, and he has a Bun Man costume. And then we have the mascots behind him from our holiday stroll parade, and then the local high school mascot also was there. So it was hilarious, and hopefully you'll go back and watch it. But what happens a lot of times is I try to do a Facebook Live right from when the event starts, because a lot of times it reminds people that it's happening. So even though it's, we have our hands so full at events, it still is nice to be able to, take a minute to let people know that it's happening and remind them, because that's what happened during the Shiver River, is that people, as soon as I did the event, within about 10 minutes, people just started coming out of the woodwork because they remembered that it was happening. So that's an important thing to do. Okay, so one of the challenges that Facebook and social media has given us is that we really have to pay to play now. And this is where it makes it even more important that we are helping to promote our partner businesses, because we're spending money to promote those posts sometimes. So here's my theory on boosting or running ads. first of all, I always let a post go out organically and see how it does. So I don't boost a post right away. And I have a theory. I don't know if it's true or not, because Facebook won't tell me how exactly their algorithm works. I won't tell anybody else either. But what I think happens is that a post goes out and it organically gets shown to people who, first of all, really engage with your page. They're like your biggest fans. They always comment on everything. And then they share it, and it goes out to their friends, and then their friends share it. And what that does is it tells Facebook who cares about this post, who's really interacting with it. And so by the time you get to boosting it, Facebook already has learned something about the audience for that post. So I only boost posts that perform really well organically first. So I might not boost a post for a couple days. So that's something that I've just learned through trial and error. A lot of times you're asked to define your audience when you can, but most small towns don't have the critical mass in order to do that. So most of the time when I am doing an audience, defining an audience when I boost a post, you know how that comes up. A lot of times I'll just leave it as the town and 10 miles around. We just don't have, we're 16,500 people. If I would say people who love dogs, there's going to be, way too small an audience for Facebook to show it to those people. So just leaving it open is not bad. Plus, I think it's good for brand awareness that if you leave it open and people who may not interact with your page that often or be a volunteer or know really what you're doing might see something that they might miss otherwise. And I think that's really important for community support for your downtown. Okay, so the next thing is testing. There's no, social media will never be done. Our strategies for using social media will never be locked in. They're always going to change. And so what I encourage you to do is to test. So do a post that is a photo, and then do a post about the same type of thing that is a video, and see which one performs better. Which high arousal emotion works best? And this is something where, you might have, we just had a small fire in one of our businesses in town. And that the high arousal emotion is fear. Are they okay? Is everyone okay? That post performed great just by itself because it was, this happened, this furniture store had a fire, everybody's okay, we're so thankful for the firemen and everybody who, came from other towns to help put it out. That's a huge, high arousal emotion is that fear with the fire. And although I don't want to be creepy and take advantage of that, but that post that performed really, really well about the fire helps all the other posts after that post to perform better. So the point is to take advantage of things that happen so that you can help to grow your page, because that post got shared a whole bunch of times, et cetera, et cetera. And that goes to the what type of message are you going to have to, how are you testing what type of message you have. We've had an experience where, again, if we talk about ourselves, our posts don't perform as well. But if we talk about other businesses, especially including pictures of people, of faces, those always outperform. So testing that and making sure to find out what works in your community. If you have a big issue or a big, building's going to get, could be torn down or something like that. Which high arousal motion are you going to use? And test that out. If you are paying, so if you're boosting an ad, so what a lot of times do is post an organic post. So don't boost it, right? And I don't necessarily put a call to action in it. So I don't always say, okay, sign up here, or, register here, come to this event, make this phone call, whatever it is. So before I boost a post that's doing well organically, I'll add that in. So I'll go back in, because if you're paying, I think you always want to include a call to action you can measure. So either that's asking you to click on this link, register, donate today, sign up, whatever it is, because when you're paying, you should get something out of it, and something that you can actually measure. So I think that's an important distinction that I try to make with the boosting or running ads. Now, I imagine there are questions about this. So, Kelly, are there?
Thank you, Megan. We actually have quite a few questions, so if you're at appropriate pause, I will.
Sure.
Okay, so these are going back a little bit of a way too. So more with events, is co-hosting the same as actively sharing, except that it happens automatically?
Pretty much, yep. That's kind of a good way to distinguish it. The thing about events, though, is don't just rely on the Facebook event you created. I go in and I create 4 or 5 posts that are separate from that event post or event that was created. So I'll go in and do, hey, have you heard we're going to have this band in town? Here's all the information that you need. Because I just think that not everybody, some people don't really see those event posts. They kind of scroll by them really fast. And so telling a story about what's happening at that event is also really important. And so telling that story in a couple different ways in a couple different posts is a really good way to get additional interest, in that event. So it is kind of the same as sharing, but I also would encourage you to not only share on your page other posts about the event, but also inside that event, just in that discussion section. Make sure to, say, hey, we can't wait. We're 3 days out. What are you looking forward to most inside that event? Because that'll show it to anyone who said they're going or interested. And so you can kind of continue to grow the event audience that way.
Excellent. Next question. If you have a lot of members or partners, like 500, who expect some sort of mention on social media or who want access to the followers, how can we create enough posts that still keep that story feeling and not just become an ad?
Well, I think it's going back to emotions, the high arousal emotions, and you're not selling, you're telling a story. So again, like Arnie and their birthday of the that post that I showed before, stop in and tell them happy birthday. Stop in and tell. We're not saying stop in and go see what they have on sale. So I think there's a writing style that I don't know that I can teach in 2 seconds, but it's really about getting rid of the idea that you're selling anything other than love, awe, whatever it is, that emotion. So getting to that level of emotion is more important than the selling. Now, the number of members, what I would probably do in that case is I would send out an email to them with like a Survey Monkey or something and ask them all when they have something special going on in the next year. So I would probably do this in January and say, do you have a birthday, an anniversary, something coming up? Do you have a special sale that you do every year? Are you doing an addition, or expanding something? What is special about what's happening in this next year? And then I would build my content calendar off of that, off of their responses. And I would only include the people who respond to that survey. So you would cut down probably half of the members to ignore it, and instead say, and maybe even say that in that SurveyMonkey, like, this is your one chance to get on our social media, in front of our social media audience, so please take this seriously and answer it. Because that's all, 500 members, that's a lot. There's 365 days in a year. That means that you'd need probably at least, 1 or 2 posts a day just on your partners. So I would try to kind of cull that a little bit. And there's some people, like we have a dentist who doesn't care at all what we do. They just write that check and they're like, please just, help other people. We're fine. We just really love what you do. So you might find that too. And that might be an option that you want to give in your SurveyMonkey about, I don't need this, thanks anyway, kind of thing, and then you can move on from there. But that would be something I would do to cull that list down a little bit, and then build a content calendar about, in January, Bob's Market is having, has their big blowout sale, their big clearance sale or something like that, and you want to do a story around that time so that you can help them take advantage of something big that's going on with them. So hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, excellent. How much money do you put into boosting on average?
Great question. It really depends. It depends on what. I will boost posts that are revenue generators with more money than I will just stories. So if we're selling tickets for something, or say our big holiday strolls that we put on the day after Thanksgiving every year, and that's a huge fundraiser for us, and really has a lot of sponsors that we want to try to get out in front of people, I'll boost those. We probably have a budget for that. I think I did about $300 last year. So we boost things, about a month ahead of time. But if something's performing really well, I will maybe boost it for $10, $15, and see how it does. It depends on how big your market is as well. If you're from a bigger town, you're going to have to probably pay a little bit more than I would in Redwing, or somebody else might in an even smaller town. So, but that's another thing to test. If, $5 probably isn't enough, but you can always add more. So if you think, I'll just try $5 here and over the next 3 days and see how it does, and it really performs well, don't stop there. Put more money behind it so it shows it again and again to people. So it's kind of something you have to test out.
Thanks, Megan. Last question that's waiting in our queue right now. How do you define a successful organic post? Is it a percentage? Is it hitting a number?
Well, that's a hard thing to do. Let me hold that question, because I've got a slide that talks about our most successful post and what makes it that way. So I'll answer that question in just a second. So if I don't answer it all the way for the person who asked the question, please be sure to ask it again, so I can make sure to get you straightened out. Okay, so that was the last question in the queue right now. Please fill it up, because we'll stop again and I can answer those. So how do you know which one to use? And this is something that you're going to have to just figure out. I can't tell you. So like I said in the beginning, that most of my examples are Facebook. We're starting to use Instagram more. It's a younger audience. It's where the kids are. Twitter is kind of dying in terms of if celebrities use it, and politicians seem to be doing very well on Twitter, but it's just, there may be people who are finding success, but I haven't found them. YouTube is actually a really good way to tell your downtown stories. I didn't say this before when I showed you the video of the liquor store, but all those videos live on YouTube, on our YouTube page. And one of the things that's changed over the past year or so is that Facebook, longer videos, any videos over a minute, aren't performing very well on Facebook anymore. People's, their attention spans are just going out the window every day. They're just scrolling and not stopping. So Facebook videos, I always recommend that it's about a minute and under. But YouTube, they still perform very well. So you can do a Facebook post that says, go check out our YouTube page kind of thing, and put the longer videos there, because what we're finding is that people's behavior is you go to Facebook when you have 15 minutes when you're waiting in line, maybe going to the bathroom, I don't know, wherever you're finding 15 minutes, you're scrolling through Facebook, and you don't stop to watch videos there. But if somebody opens up YouTube, they generally have a longer time frame they're planning to use this platform with. So then maybe they have half an hour, or maybe it's right before you go to sleep at night, you just throw up YouTube and start watching it. You expect the videos to be longer. So that's a place to put those longer videos now. Snapchat, I don't use it. I never have. It's where the kids are. If you have a lot of kids activities, a lot of things in your downtown for youth, maybe that's where you go, but I can't help you with that because I don't understand it at all. And I have not really figured out a way to use it for business in an effective way. So sorry about that, but I can help you with everything else. Okay, so use the demographics to determine your audience and where you want to pay to advertise. So as you can see, the total number of U.S. adults who say they use Facebook is 68, YouTube 73, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Twitter, and WhatsApp. So again, I think this might be 2018. It may have even changed since January 2018. I'm sure it has, but Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is definitely kind of stealing from Facebook. But if most of your users are women, Facebook is kind of where you want to be. Instagram is the same. Women are really using Instagram a lot. Here's some racial demographics that you could take into account. Ages, of course. If you look at Instagram, 71% of 80 or 18 to 24-year-olds are using Instagram. That's a huge amount of folks. Here's income levels. So this can help you figure out where you should be spending your money and your time. In my town, like I said, Facebook rules, so that's what we do. So how to raise awareness. Let's check the time here. Okay. How to raise awareness for your downtown. Again, we had the Small Business Revolution, and if you go in and watch this video, we took this heart pillow, and all different businesses threw it. So somebody was off camera, threw it to that business owner, and then they threw it off camera. And then I edited the video using the free video tool that came with my PC. Stitched it together so it looked like the pillow was just being tossed from one business to another, and then this is where it ended, and it said, please vote for us, with a group of folks who were supporting the effort as well. So it's that was a great way to raise awareness around a certain issue or certain time that was time sensitive. Getting out important information. So this is my mad face. I was mad because, as you can see, there was construction behind me. There was one square block of this intersection that was being worked on. They were putting bump outs in for ADA compliance, and I was in the restaurant right in front of where I'm standing, and the restaurant owner was like, "Well, nobody's coming. The construction is just keeping everybody away." And I had a glass of wine. And I went out and I did a Facebook Live, and I yelled at everyone for not coming out and and finding parking and walking to these shops down here at this corner, because it just felt so ridiculous to me. The city had worked really hard to make sure that all the handicap parking was still available, that the sidewalks were all accessible, that parking really wasn't that big of a problem. So there was not a great excuse. It was just a little bit of a mess. So I went out, and again, you can watch this video, and I went out and I said, there's no excuse. Please get down here. These businesses need you, et cetera, et cetera. So that was I was not drunk, but I definitely had a glass of wine that helped me probably be a little bit more stern than I normally would have been with my audience. Okay. Brand yourself. Make sure that when you're putting out things that they look like you, so that as people are scrolling, when they scroll by fast, they are seeing, oh, that must be a post from downtown. And this was during our Small Business Revolution voting. We did a brand campaign about why people should vote for us. And then don't make it so hard. This post was literally one that I took a picture of the newspaper on my kitchen counter and posted about. So, you don't have to go out and take beautiful pictures of everything. You don't have to really think through it really hard. Really don't put that much pressure on yourself. This post performed very well, and it was basically a picture of a newspaper that talked about Duluth Trading Company coming to our downtown. Okay, so this goes to that person's question about how do you gauge success of a post. So this post is all organic. We did not boost this one. So I broke my own rule, but I didn't have to boost it. So every year we've had a corn in the park. People come for $7 to get a hot dog and a piece of corn and a pop. And we had it rained out. And the corn picker guy, the guy we buy the corn from, wasn't going to charge us for those extra 30 dozen corn that they picked for us for that event. And that was a big deal because this was a fundraiser, and of course we couldn't have the fundraiser, so we couldn't pay for the corn. And so we put a call out to people, hey, please, we need your help. They were going to provide corn. It's canceled. This is a big deal. Can you please go get corn? If 30 of you go get a dozen for $5, you'll make it, sure it was worth their time and energy. The reason it was canceled was it was raining and it was really gross out. And here this guy is down. We posted a picture of the guy who sells the Surehammer corn. And what a great picture. I mean, it just told the whole story. Here's all his corn, and here he is in his rain jacket with duct tape on it. It had 291 shares, and it was liked there was either a like or some sort of comment by people, 475 people. It reached almost 52,000 people. The corn was sold out by 3:30. We posted this originally about noon, so within about 3 hours, the corn was sold out every year they had. And what was great is that, the local restaurant, Marie's restaurant, went down and got corn and served it that night, specially because they knew that they had done this, and Marie's is a great supporter of downtown Main Street. So this is a very I was blown away by this result, and I think that it's all relative too. So success to you, it depends on the size of your town, what kind of numbers that you should look at. But I think even more importantly, we can get really bogged down in the numbers and say, oh, unless this reaches 500 people, then it wasn't a success. But really, it's reaching the right people. And it's hearing stories out and about in your downtown, about stories you're writing about your downtown on social media. So if I go out and, am stopping in a store to check on somebody, they'll say, I can't believe I got 3 new hairstylist appointments because of that post that you did on my salon. That's more important to me than these numbers. So I think that's part of what you kind of have to figure out is what really matters. Why do you really want to spend time on social media? It isn't just to get likes and shares, but it's to get those stories out and about and to make a difference in the businesses in your downtown. Getting feedback. This is just another great way to get some more people engaged on your post. Our downtown is dead after 6 p.m. It's something that is just makes everyone crazy. And so I posted there was an article about something, and I posted about it knowing that it was probably going to be a mess. And there might be some comments on here that I had to delete or hide, but that's okay. It got the attention of the businesses, and that people are saying, please be open, please be open. So I can say it all day long, but until their potential customers say it, it's not as important. Other tips and ideas. Okay, contests. I'm sure some of you have done this. One of the challenges with contests are getting people into stores. And so one of the things we did for this contest was a snow sculpture, but you had to go get this sign in a store downtown to enter. So it forced people into the stores, and then they had to post it with the picture in order to enter the contest. Invite people to like your page. Hopefully you're doing this already. Click on the list of people that have liked the post and click invite on each person that hasn't liked your page yet. And then celebrate your page is growing. That's very important. All about celebrating. So live videos are so important. And there's something about the live video that makes people crazy. And so this is my my very quick instructions to do a video. Take out your phone, shoot a video. Don't overthink it. People want raw, authentic, and imperfect. The only person that is shocked by your appearance or your voice or whatever is you. Everyone else already hears you. Everyone else already knows what you look like. And then we already talked about the micro videos being under 1 minute are performing much better. Okay, getting your organization more exposure. So the first video I posted here was us getting ready for our Shiver River Day. I posted right, from the park we were going to have it in. The second video is me actually giving an update. And, there's ugly stuff behind me. My calendar's on the wall. Anybody can see it. There's a microwave back there. It doesn't matter. People don't really care that much. So I think that the point is just do them, and you'll get better at them. You can also practice doing a live video by only having the audience set to you, or your friends. So you can practice a little bit using live video. Here's some more ideas about what to post about behind the scenes, links to other content. Influencers in your town, like I said, our bakery guy really helped us grow our page because we posted a lot about him and those kinds of things. If there's somebody in your town that really gets social media, maybe see if you can figure out a good partnership there. Turn a bad into good, like we did with the corn. And then using graphic design apps such as Canva. I didn't talk about that at all, but Canva.com is a really great way to build social media posts. And then remember, less transaction, more love stories. So transactions are, here's our event, here's what's going on, this is, that's all good. That's content, but it's not stories. And so remember, less transaction, more love stories. So I think I have some time for some questions, a couple minutes.
Alrighty, hold on one moment while we. Okay. Oh, Megan, let's see if some more questions come in. But right now, all we have is thank yous.
Oh, good. Awesome.
That's a great surprise when you open up the question.
Awesome. Well, good. And please, let me know if people have questions, or make sure to download the PDF. It's got my contact information in there, and so, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And then let me know if you have any other questions or want me to, after Kelly's comment about what classes people want next year, I'd love to know around social media, what are the classes that you'd want to take? Is it around ads, digging more into how to do ads, or is it insights, how to learn if what you're doing is working? What is, what else would you like to know? I'd love to know what that is, because I'd like to do another session next year. So any thoughts on that would be fantastic.
Well, anybody's welcome to chat those thoughts in. We always are interested in knowing more about what you want to see at the conference. We have had a couple questions that hopefully we can address quickly.
Sure.
But everybody can follow up with Megan, as she mentioned. Rachel asks, can you tell us more about partners? She may have missed something at the beginning, but right now they just support any business in the corridor. It can be a little overwhelming, but it's hard to ask them to give financially.
Well, it's hard to ask to give financially because I think, at least, it's hard to know what value you're bringing them. And I can tell you right now that one salon in town, because we did a partner feature on her, got 10 new clients. So that $150 partnership was, I mean, that's just nothing compared to 10 new clients. If they're lifelong or long-time clients, that's just going to be paid for in no time. So I think that's what's hard is to figure out the membership and to bring value. What you could do if you don't have a paid membership structure right now is maybe you only focus on, doing features on businesses where the owner volunteers a lot, or their employees do, or something that they're doing that's special. How they've supported some other businesses, like, for example, our Redwing Brewery uses, dough from Hanish Bakery and meat from the Buchanan's Grocery, and, like, figure out what makes them special and what do you want to incentivize is something that I would say is try to how to cull that list a little bit if you don't have that paid partnership. But this is actually how we justify the partnership fee. Is we say we will do this for you, and here's the results from other posts that they just can't get. They just don't have the kind of numbers that we do. So that's how we justify that. Anything else?
Another question. What about donations on social media? Do you use it? Is it successful for you? There has been some changes in formats and procedures. So is it something you would suggest?
I have not used it for downtown Main Street in Redwing. I think it's, usually there has to be some campaign around it. Either you need something or, it's not really something like, oh, just give. But what I have used it with is one of my clients is the local Humane Society. And we had a post that just blew up around a dog that was found on the side of the road in the 12 below zero, and it was shared just an ungodly amount of time. I think the reach was like 200,000 people for this post. It just went nuts. Well, I threw up a donation on that post because you can add that later if you boost it. I threw that up on there, and we probably raised $1,000 off that post. So it's really, I think it's kind of more of a time really taking advantage of something that happens to really make sure. Or if you have a friend drive, so you're putting it out in the community of, we're doing our friend drive for the next month, and you have a whole campaign set up for that. Maybe you do a post a week about becoming a friend and donating or something like that. It certainly could work.
Right.
Anything else?
Yeah, we've got just a couple more here. One thing that someone asked, and I just want to make sure everybody, in case you joined late, the handout, the PDF of this is available in the handout section. If for any reason you're watching this as a recording at a later date, I would highly encourage you to visit eventmobi.com/mainstreetnow19. There you can find all of the presentations that occurred at the Main Street Conference this year. And for Megan and other speakers, you'll be able to find PDFs of presentations as well. Another question, when people like a post on your page, but they haven't liked your page, do you invite them to like the page individually, or is there a potential to do kind of a like and subscribe altogether, or an option to kind of invite all those people at one time who don't like your page?
Facebook just has been teasing me with this new thing that shows up once in a while on some of the pages I manage, where it says, if I visit my page, so Redwing Downtown Main Street, and then I start to scroll down to the different posts, there'll be a little section that says 300 people reacted or interacted with your page. Would you like to invite them to your page? Facebook will do this automatically for you if you click this button. That's awesome. And always click that button because Facebook's inviting them to your page. But you can do it manually, and then you kind of have to do it one by one. And that's where, when you go into a post, you just Google this, and there'll be something, a video that'll show you how to do it. Otherwise, I'd bring it up. But you just click on the post, click on the number of the people who have liked or commented or whatever, and then it brings up a list of people who've either reacted with a happy face or a sad face or whatever, and then right next to that it'll say liked, invite, invite to everybody. And you just hit invite and invite everybody. But that's a really good way to grow your page. And one of the things that I've done when I boost a post, sometimes I only boost it to people who like my page and their friends, because it's a little bit more of a specialized audience then, and too much to get into right now. But that's why growing your page likes is still important.
All right, excellent. I think that was our last question. And some more thank you comments coming in. So thank you very much, Megan, for that really attainable and specific presentation. I think it was a lot of useful tools.
Good. I am glad that people found it useful, and please make sure to come up and say hi if you're coming to next year's Main Street Conference. I should be there, and I would love to meet you, because this is the webinar is so impersonal that I usually like to have people ask questions and make comments, and I can make jokes and be way more funny in person. But I really appreciate you being here, and that hopefully you take a new look at your social media and start telling some stories.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending this webinar series. And like Megan said, we will see you in Dallas in 2020. And like I said previously, please be on the lookout for the call for proposals in late June, and submit your ideas. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.